When I came, there weren't as many businesses, but all of them were run by the people who owned them. And they took pride in it, in their businesses, and they kept their lawns manicured, and everything was just beautiful. Lots of green places in town.
Rail Maples was a larger-than-life character. We didn't learn to appreciate him perhaps until we looked back and saw everything that he was involved in. He was involved in the organization of the city's first bank, in the city government itself. City Hall was initially in the Gatlinburg Inn. He had the outdoor theater before anybody ever thought of such, and was an owner of property and a developer of property. Strong personality. He was good to all of us when we came up here.
My recollections of him is from when I was a much younger boy, and I worked as a clerk at the Ogle's grocery store in Gatlinburg. And in those days, back in the 60s, everyone in town sooner or later came in the grocery store there. And he was always such a nice gentleman when he came in the store, and people would ask him questions about how business was at the Gatlinburg Inn.
I had been back to Gatlinburg maybe once or twice, and but hadn't. And Mr. Maples, he that's all I could call him, because I didn't know him except as a boss. And a time or two, he brought the ones who worked here and took me and the girl who lived with me over there out to dinner, but I didn't think anything about that. And there was never any indication that he never showed any interest. But I got a letter from him out of a clear sky asking me to marry him. Well, I cried for 3 months, because I didn't know him. I did an awful lot of praying about it. And it was a wonderful marriage. We were married 31 and a half years.
Miss Maples, she was good. She was strict. She wanted things perfect, and sometimes they just couldn't be perfect, but she'd still want them perfect. She was a good person. You could talk to her, she'd listen to you, and reason with her. She was good in that respect.
I was raised on a dairy farm, so I didn't know anything but a farm, and then getting to come to Gatlinburg and staying with Wilma for a week here at Gatlinburg was like going to Disneyland to me. Rail, her husband, was a great man. He was a leader here in Gatlinburg, and when we came, he treated us just like his grandkids. He just took us under his wing, wanted to make sure we had a good time, taught us a lot about life.
She loved the Gatlinburg Inn so much, and loved to talk about the pictures on the wall, and times past, and how she met her husband, and how he popped the question to her, and told stories just like it was yesterday.
Wilma treated this place like her home. If she didn't want you to stay here when you walked in the door, Wilma would sit over in the corner there of the lobby, and if someone came in wanting a room, Wilma would have a signal to the front desk whether or not they wanted to be full or not be full.
I'm as old-fashioned as I can be, and nobody in this town operates like I do. But I say 90% of our guests are repeat. We've got fourth-generation guests. We're doing something right, or that wouldn't happen. We don't sleep as many people as some people do, because we don't hang a vacancy sign. There's a lot of people out there I don't want in my beds. But I would much rather have vacant rooms than have undesirable people.
What was the fascinating thing about the Gatlinburg Inn was people would come back to spend like their 20th or 30th or 40th or 50th wedding anniversary, and we'd put them in the same room that they spent their honeymoon in. And we pleased a lot of people.
The pioneer families of Gatlinburg unlike a lot of places, in the late 30s when Gatlinburg exploded and the park was being built, the Reagans, Whaleys, Ogles, Mapleses, and Huffs, they held on to their property. And these guys were all competitive apparently, but they all got along. Rail's got their pictures right there behind us. This is the Pioneer Room because they are the pioneers of Gatlinburg. Go around Gatlinburg to this day and you don't see as many franchises and major restaurants and such that you might otherwise see because the local people kept ownership of the land.
Liberace came. How I remember him, he came and he played piano at Hunter Hills, which Mr. and Miss Maples had, and he played the piano out there and under the stars, and he was playing that beautiful music. It was gorgeous.
You could see on the wall, we've had everybody from Lady Bird Johnson to Pistol Pete Maravich that have stayed here. Carl Smith and June Carter spent their honeymoon here. Eddie Arnold, Roy Acuff, Ferlin Husky, Andy Williams, go on and on.
Let's go and do some shopping.
Yeah.
Come on.
C.D. Wilson, who they've got a picture up there, he was Chuck Norris's instructor. And I had no idea. I didn't go in for that, all that fighting and stuff like that. I didn't know a thing about it. I don't go to movies, I read books. So C.D. come down, and me and C.D. and his wife was, you know, all friends and everything. And then he brought Chuck Norris over, and he says, "Teresa, I want to introduce you to somebody." And I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "This is my friend Chuck Norris. He's in the movies." I looked at him and I said, "Oh, it's good to meet you. Are you any good at it?"
In 1951, the National Governors Conference was held in Gatlinburg. I don't mean the Southern governors, I don't mean the Republican governors. The National Governors Conference was held in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And there were 3 hotels that were utilized, and the Gatlinburg Inn was one of them. And we had a lot of governors here under the roof of the inn at one point in time, including Earl Warren, who was later Chief Justice of the United States. But of course our claim to fame is Rocky Top. Boudleaux and Felice were 2 of the most prolific and successful songwriters in the history of America. They came up here to write up an album of songs for Archie Campbell. It was something about old folks. The Golden Years was the name of it.
And I said to Boudleaux, I said, I'm sick of this. I'm getting arthritic. I said, I think I'm growing gray hairs on this project. I said, let's write something happy up. And Boudleaux always believed in, he had tunnel vision. Zero in on a thing, get that target the heck out of the way, and get on with it. Well, as you can tell interviewing me, that I scatter in a hurry. And so I'm scattering real big here. And I said, no, I can't do another thing on this Golden Years project. I need something up and happy. And so he knew that when I was hit with a case of the dumbs, he couldn't cut through it. So he went along with it. And he started it. He even titled it. And in about 10 minutes, we were through with it. And he says, now can we get on with the rest of this job?
They took it back to Nashville. They were great friends with the Osborne brothers. Lived close by to them there. The Osbornes heard the song. They were looking for one more song to fill out an album. The Osbornes liked the song, but they just made it an up-tempo number. And on December 25th, 1967, it was released. We have preserved room 388. We've redone every room here, every bathroom, except room 388. We've done some upgrades in the room, but we thought we'd leave the fixtures just like it was. And that's where Felice and Boudleaux would come and stay even when the inn was closed. Aunt Wilma would toss them the key, and they'd go up there and stay for days by themselves.
He come out one day, he says, "Teresa, do you know the reason why people like my apple pie?" I said, "No, sir, why?" He says, "I put about the size of a hen egg of pork lard in each pie and let it melt." I said, "Sir, does Miss Maples know about that?" He says, "No, and what she don't know won't hurt her." He says, "You see all them big shots out there on the porch?" And there's like the bank president, Mills, Mr. Mills, and different other people are sitting out there eating his pie and coffee. And he says, he says, "It gives me pleasure to see them out there eating my pie and know they're eating hog lard." So one day I heard this explosion. Wilma Maples was hollering at the top of her voice, and I heard her say, Here I am trying to fix you your meals and trying to keep you off stuff so you'll live and be healthy, and you do this to me?" And I thought, okay, so I went to the other side of the lobby. Miss Maples is what we call a woodcusser. She slams doors and stuff like that. And Grail, in a few minutes, he come out. He's all excited. He had a toothpick in his mouth, and he's working his toothpick. He said, "Teresa, come here." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Let me give you a word of advice." I said, "Yes, sir, what is it?" He says, "Whenever my wife is wrong, she's right." And here he walked out the door.
Everett Kircher was an automobile dealer in the state of Michigan. He came here in the early 1950s and tried to talk Rail Maples into putting in a Skylift. And it was a hard sell. But Kircher persisted, and he and Rail in 1953 made an agreement for a 99-year lease for the Skylift to be located on the inn property, as it's here right behind us, almost over the swimming pool. That's how I can describe to people where we are. Well, yeah, the Skylift goes over our swimming pool.
Rail felt that the tourists we needed more for people to do.
And she said that was something that no matter how old or young you were, you could enjoy riding, because it was a nice, calm ride. And plus it took you up into the mountains where you could see the main range of the Smokies and not have to travel or hike back in them.
Kircher parlayed this into a successful chain of ski resorts and golf courses in Michigan and other places. Rail Maples had a lot of foresight. He crafted a lease, a very simple document which ensured that it would be a percentage lease and not a flat fee. So it's been very beneficial for the inn over the years.
Mr. Maples told me one time the reason why people come back is because you're good to them. He said if they don't have a good experience, they won't be back.
My husband didn't look for he looked for the positive. He saw the positive side of things, which is a wonderful thing. Wonderful.
The inn has stayed the same path up until when we took over. And as David said, we've tried to upgrade the inn and bring it into the 21st century, but keep the feel of the place. We wanted to, a lot of people that's been guests here over the years or repeat guests, and we want new guests, families. We want everybody to enjoy the inn.
I'm sure after the chimney top too far, I'm sure the phone was ringing off the hook. People, are you still there? Are you still there? I'm sure that they was. And I'm sure that a lot of people's hearts were broken because whenever they heard Gatlinburg was burned up, that they knew it was the inn burning up.
I'm hoping in 20 years or 30 years from now, young people are bringing their families back and say, Mom and Dad brought me here as a kid. That's what we hear now, is my granny or my mother. I came here for 40 years and brought us, and we just love this place.
But I've been privileged to meet and know people that my life never would have crossed, my path never would have crossed. And I'm grateful because, as I said before, the most important thing when it's all added up is the people we've met in our association with them.
We're proud of it, and we love it. All the owners, we all are involved in this because we all love the Gatlinburg Inn.
People nowadays, the world is so swift. Things are so confusing. The world can turn on you in a dime. Things in your life happens, but the Gatlinburg Inn is the same.
But you now, dear, don't be unkind, 'cause all the time that I'm away, you're ever on my mind, all night long, all night long.